and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm doing another romance recommendations, but this one is adult contemporary. So I put up a poll on Twitter for you guys to vote on which romance recommendations video you guys wanted next. You guys voted on this one. So if you want to be involved in the next romance recommendations video that I do, or any other kind of video that I ask your opinion on, please go follow me on Twitter because I always make Twitter polls that you can vote on and stuff, so make sure you go follow me on there. 6 adult romances to recommend you guys, so let's just get into it. The first one I have to recommend for you guys is On Dublin Street by Samantha Young. This is the first book in, I think there's like 7 or 8 books in the series, but I'm recommending the first book. I love this whole series, but I figured it's just easier if I recommend the first book. So this follows Jocelyn, who has had kind of a tragic past, and she moves to Scotland and she moves into a new apartment on Dublin Street, and then she meets a guy named Braden and they kind of have a thing happening, but she's not really wanting to because she is stuck in her grief and like her issues. I really love this book. I'm not explaining it very well, but I really loved it, and has a lot of great side characters who eventually get their own books, and I just really love this series. I highly recommend that you check this one out. It is one of my favorite romance series of all time, so I really loved this book, and it's just a really great, somewhat slow burning romance, but I really loved it. The next book I'm recommending is Blurred Lines by Lauren Lane. I love Lauren Lane. I've recommended her books many times. I usually always recommend the Love, Sex, and Stiletto series. I think that's what it's called. I usually always recommend that book. That's actually not her most popular book. I figured I would recommend this one because it is her most popular. I think it's her highest rated book. I always recommend starting with After the Kiss if you want to start Lauren Lane's books, because that's how I did. I literally started from her, like, one of her first books. But I do recommend Blurred Lines. I recommend all of her books, let's just say that. But I'm going to talk about Blurred Lines. So this is about Parker and Ben, who are best friends. They met in their freshman year of college. 6 years later, they're still best friends and they're sharing an apartment. Parker's boyfriend breaks up with her and she wants to start dating and stuff, but she's not, like, she can't really get into it. I can't remember how it happened in the book. But they then start, Ben and Parker, who are best friends, start a casual friends with benefits. Does it become something more? Does it ruin their friendship? I don't know. I love this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was so good. I love all of Lauren Lane's books. I'm just always going to highly rate her books, and I do recommend this one. I recommend all of her books. They all have very different premises, so I'm sure you'll find one of her books interesting based on the premise, but I recommend them all. This one also is great. Then I have Head Over Heels by Jennifer Dawson. This is book 5 in the Something New series, which I recommend the whole series, but this one is definitely my favorite. I enjoyed all the books in the whole series. I think book 4 and 5 are my favorites. However, I was reading like some people's reviews of the first book, and they said that like they're glad they didn't read the series in order. So I don't know. I read them in order. I liked them all equally. I think I gave them all 4 stars. So I enjoyed all of the books, but this one is definitely my favorite. So I'm recommending this one. You can read them in order if you want. They don't really tie together. They're just all the characters tie together, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know. Alright, so this is Head Over Heels. This is about Sophie, who I forgot what job she had. She might have been a lawyer or something. But anyways, her boss ends up in jail, so she is kind of tied to this company that has a really bad reputation. So she decides to move to a small town that she knows a friend from. I think it was one of the characters from the previous books. So she moves to the small town and she meets a writer who is her neighbor and her landlord, and their first meeting, they basically like do not like each other. They are really rude to each other and kind of like mean. Obviously things change, but I really love this book. I thought the hate to love trope was done amazingly in this book. Like, I really loved it. This is definitely my favorite book by Jennifer Dawson. I highly recommend it. It was just so great. Like, I received this as an ARC from NetGalley and I loved it so much I had to buy my own copy. So I really love this book. Recommend it. Then I have Stuck Up Suit by Vicky Lind and Penelope Ward. They've written many books together and I recommend them all because I've actually enjoyed all of their books together. I think I've given them all 4 stars. But I'm recommending this one because it is their highest rated one. I honestly can't pick which one I like the most that they've done together because I kind of have read most of them back to back. So I feel like a lot of them kind of blur, but I did really enjoy this one. It basically follows this woman who sees this guy on the train and he's like super good looking and everything, and she watches him. He gets off the train, he drops his phone and he leaves it, and she picks it up and she decides to go through his phone. She returns his phone to his office. I think she finds out where his office is. She returns the phone and leaves her phone number with it or something like that. They then start to text back and forth. Things develop, things happen. I really like this one. I like all of their romances together, like that they've written together. So I do recommend this one. I think they have 4 or 5 together. Totally recommend this one. Recommend their other ones. All great. Next book I have to recommend is Scoring Wilder by R.S. Gray. I've read all of R.S. Gray's books except for maybe her last 2. I think I'm behind on 2 books. But I've read all of her books so far, I think, and I've really, really enjoyed them. This, again, is her most popular one. It's her highest rated one. I don't feel like this is my favorite of hers, but I did still really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. Can't remember which sport it is. I think it's soccer. And it follows a girl on the team. It's an Olympic team. Basically, she's falling in love with the coach. He's like a young coach. I think he's like in his early 20s and she's like 19. I really loved it. It's great. It's like a forbidden romance. I still really enjoyed it regardless that it's not my favorite of hers, but I still really, really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it. I feel like this is the place to start with R.S. Gray. I feel like you should start with this book and then kind of go through her other books, but this is definitely probably her most popular. And the last book I have to recommend is the I don't know what this series is called, by Nicole Jacqueline. The first book is Unbreak My Heart. The second book is Change of Heart, which is my favorite book, like one of my favorite books of all time. I loved this book so much. But I'm recommending both. She also has a self-published motorcycle club romance, which I loved. That's how I first discovered her books. Those I believe are self-published, so you can find them on Amazon. And I really loved those books. But these are her books that she has with a publisher, so I'm recommending these ones. This is about a woman who's been in love with her best friend's husband since like they were younger. Her best friend has kids with him and everything. Her friend ends up in a car accident and dies, but she was pregnant and the baby survived. Her best friend didn't. And her best friend's husband is a Marine, so I think he was in the military. And he comes back and they basically, the main character tries to take care of her dead best friend's kids and everything, and eventually she falls very deeply in love with her best friend's husband. Does he feel the same way? I don't know. That's basically what happens. It's actually really, really well done in my opinion. I just thought it was really well done. I know it's kind of controversial, but I feel like this book was done very well. I enjoyed the characters, really liked it. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But this one I recommend forever. You don't have to read the first book to read the second one. However, I do recommend it because then it just makes more sense. You know how it is. But this one basically follows Annie, who was adopted by Bram's family, and like when they were younger. She grew up with him, everything, and they basically have had this like hate to love relationship for like ever. Basically something happens to Annie where she has to decide whether or not she wants Bram in her life or not, and it gets very dramatic, very good. I really, really like this book. I'm not describing it good at all, but it is amazing, you guys. And the hate to love relationship in here is so good. Like, it's actually really well done in my opinion. I really liked it. It's a little harsh at one point, but I loved it, and this is in dual POV, so that's even better. And I just love this book. I highly, highly recommend it. So those were it for my adult contemporary romance recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of these books before and what you thought of them, or if you have any recommendations for me, you can leave them down below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!